We go.
All right, good evening. If I could have everyone's attention, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Gina Leahy, Senior Director of Communications and Brain Management for the College Football Playoff. On behalf of everyone at the CFP, I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's news conference. We will ask each head coach to make a brief opening comment, and then when we open it up for questions, we'll go ahead and begin with the Rose Bowl game coaches. On my very far left, please welcome Kirby Smart. Coach, welcome.
Well, first off, thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. It's an honor to be here. Our team is really excited to get to travel to the Rose Bowl for the first time in 75 years, and a lot of our players are really excited as well. A lot of our kids haven't even been to the West Coast, so they're going to get an opportunity to go out and play a wonderful team in Oklahoma, very storied program. I followed Lincoln for a long time. I know he and his staff do a tremendous job. Been very fortunate to visit with their defensive staff before. I know they do a great job, and we obviously know about the quarterback they have, who is a tremendous player. So we'll manage these next 25 days the best we can and prepare for a trip out, and a great opportunity for our seniors, and we're excited to be in the college football playoff.
Great, thank you. Next, please welcome Lincoln Riley. Coach?
Yeah, like Kirby said, we're thrilled to be in the college football playoff. It's been a great run for this team from the start of spring ball, and then certainly Bob making the decision to step down in June. Been very, very proud of how our entire team, our staff, just really our entire organization, how they handled that transition. It's been a great year. Been a really, really fun team to coach. I feel like we've really improved throughout the season, and couldn't be happier getting a chance to go to the Rose Bowl. Obviously one of the most historic games that there is, and what a great opportunity for us to play a great Georgia team, one of the best teams in the country, tremendous, all three sides of the ball, and going to be a great game like the Rose Bowl and the college football playoff should be. So we're thrilled to be back in the playoff here for the second time in 3 years, and very much looking forward to the game.
All right, we'll now turn it over to the coaches competing in the Sugar Bowl. Please welcome Coach Nick Saban. Coach?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate all the other coaches here that are had great seasons with their teams and did a great job with their teams too, and certainly deserve the right to be in the college football playoff. This is a real privilege and honor for University of Alabama, our team, our coaches, and the people in our organization to be involved in the playoff and to be able to go to the Sugar Bowl. And I think it's a great competitive venue, and we feel very fortunate that this is our fourth straight time of being involved in this game, and obviously some great competition and some great football games. And Clemson, deservedly #1 team in the nation. Very explosive offense. Dabo does a great job. We got a very good defense. Our front seven is probably second to none in college football. So, and this is our third year in a row getting to play in this. So, we're excited about having the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and same thing, congratulations to all these coaches. What an awesome accomplishment for each team. It's a long season. There's a lot of things that have to come together to have the opportunity to be one of these four. So just a tremendous year from all these teams, and we're excited. I mean, I hadn't been to the Sugar Bowl in 25 years, and Clemson hadn't been in 59 years. So what a great opportunity for our team. Obviously, I can't seem to get away from these guys as hard as I try. It's not an easy task to play Alabama. I don't care where you put them. They've had the best team for a long time, and we know it's been two great games, and I don't have any doubt this one will be another great matchup. But got a lot of respect for what they do there, obviously, and Coach Saban and the consistency that they've had. But look forward to it. It's going to be a great opportunity to prepare, and should be a great game.
Great, thank you. At this time, we will take questions. Again, please raise your hand, and we will get a microphone over to you. We'll start in the middle.
Nick, Jeremy obviously accepted the Tennessee job today. Will he stay along with all of you through the playoff?
Yeah, Jeremy's going to finish the season with us. He's going to go do some things to get his program started at Tennessee, and when we're ready to practice, he'll be back with us and be a part of the playoff. I really appreciate the fact that, Kirby did a great job of doing that a couple years ago when he had an opportunity, and I think it shows a lot of respect for the players on our team who have worked hard to help us all have success this season.
All right, we'll go back into the middle on the far left.
Dabo, you voted Ohio State number 4 in your final poll. Did you feel they were worthy over Alabama?
You want the honest answer?
Absolutely.
3 o'clock in the morning on a bus ride home from Charlotte. A moment of insanity, complete insanity. No, it was just coming home, literally it was 3 o'clock in the morning, like, oh man, I got to do this poll, and looking at it, and they won 11 games, Alabama won 11 games, they won the Big Ten championship, and it's a different, obviously the committee has a lot of things to look at and a lot of data, and they're going to pick the 4 best teams however they see it, and at that moment, that's the way I voted. But they're all great teams, man.
Okay, we'll go back in the middle.
He was just respecting his alma mater, that's all.
I'm trying to get rid of him. I can't get rid of him. Can't shake him.
We'll go back in the middle towards the back.
Moment of his,
Kirby, a couple of your assistants have been rumored for other positions. After the season ends, do you obviously have to anticipate this, and do you address this with them about how maybe you're going to handle it, or is it just a take it as it goes?
Yeah, I think it's an honor anytime your assistants get an opportunity to advance themselves. And I think that, I learned that from none other than Nick, that when you get an opportunity for somebody to go on and increase their role, and they get a promotion, I think that's a great honor. I think it's an honor to your staff and to the success you've had at your program. And I hope that all our guys get that opportunity. I do think that the timing with the early signing period, it's a very unique set of circumstances. You guys have asked 1,000 times about the early signing period. How's it going to affect this and that? I think it's really unique that now we're coming across things that we weren't quite aware of, like we've got official visits next weekend, but we've got to practice also for bowl games where we never had to do that. We've got coaches that are jockeying to go to different places and different staffs because of the early signing period. They're wanting to move earlier and get in position where a lot of times you didn't worry about coaching movement until after the bowl games. So it's brought up a unique circumstance, especially for a team that's in the college football playoff.
All right, we'll go back to the middle on the right aisle.
Nick, what did you learn from the last 2 years with Kirby and Lane going through the same kind of situation as Jeremy? And does the early signing period change anything at all for you guys this year?
Well, I think that each individual, handles a circumstance like this relative to how they can stay focused on 2 things. I remember when I went to Michigan State as an assistant coach way back in 1994, I think. I was at the Cleveland Browns. We were in the playoff hunt. Bill made it as accommodating as he could for me to have someone who helped as a secretary to do all the things and handle all the things so I could focus on doing what we needed to do for our players. But most of the really good coaches that have great competitive character are always going to do what's best for the players. And, I mentioned earlier, Kirby certainly did a good job of that, and I'm sure Jeremy will do a good job of that this year.
All right, next question will go in the middle on the far left aisle.
Kirby, thinking back to that in 2015 when you had to juggle 2 jobs during the playoff run, what was the most difficult part of that, and how did you handle that whole situation?
Well, I thought that, Coach did a great job of helping with that. He offered up as many services as he could. But at the time, I was always concerned, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing for Georgia? Am I doing the right thing for Alabama? And it was very concerning to me because I wanted to do what was best for both. And what was best for both was to finish up what you were doing, but move on to the new things you had to do in recruiting. With the early signing period, it creates a even new dynamic because you're trying to actually sign a signing class while you're practicing. So the things that Jeremy's going to have to go through is probably going to be even more challenging in regards to that. But I'm glad now, looking back, that I did what I did because it was the right thing to do. And certainly helped that we won the game, but it was very challenging 30-day period for sure.
And we'll go to the front row in the middle.
All right, Rachel Deloach, Troy University, and my question is for all coaches. From your years of coaching, which phase of the game, offense, defense, or special teams, has the advantage with 1 month to prepare?
Coach Smart, we'll start with you and then work our way down.
Thanks. I don't know that any phase of the game has an advantage over the other with 1 month to prepare. I certainly think that how you manage those 3 phases is very critical to the outcomes of the game. And we talked to our team even as recent as yesterday about perspective and what is each team's perspective on making the playoffs. Do you have one team hungrier than the other that's upset they didn't win a championship? Are they going to work harder than you? Are you going to be complacent because you're the first team in however many years to win an SEC championship? So the perspective with which you go into it with, I think, is really critical. And the playoffs that I've been a part of, it's the team that manages those 25 days to get better, to improve your kicking game, your offense, your defense. But I don't think one has an advantage over the other.
Yeah, I would agree with Kirby. I don't think it matters really what side of the ball you're talking about. This is probably the time. There's no other time during the year where you've got a month break in between games. And that we're the only sport in the world that I can think of that does that, especially before championship-type games like this. So I think how you handle those games, how your staff handles them, how your players handle them, makes the biggest difference.
I don't really think that it's a lot about the offense, defense, or special teams, but I do think that skilled players, wide receivers, fast guys, they sort of bounce back from the break a lot more quickly than the bigger guys. So I also think that because you don't play for a long time, one of the most difficult skills is the fundamental of just blocking and tackling, and that's why it's more challenging to the bigger guys. It just seems like it's a little bit harder to get everybody back to the level and the standard that you like. But the skill guys, they'll go out there for 2 days and catch passes, and they're ready to go. Quarterback, the receivers, they're fast guys, and they're always fast guys. So I think those guys have a little bit of an advantage in games with a big break like this.
Yeah, I don't, from a offense, defense, kicking game, I don't really think anybody has an advantage because we all got the same amount of time. I think the advantage comes for how you use that time. I think because everybody uses that time differently. For us, we work a lot on ourselves. So it's a lot of Clemson work. Obviously, it's a lot of prep work for the team that we're getting ready to play, but it's also a lot of work on our future team. And so, we've got a formula that we believe in, and I think everybody is unique and different in how they use that time. And I think that is maybe an advantage or not an advantage depending on what your philosophy is there. But as far as schematically, I think everybody's got the same amount of time to study and prepare and all that. So I don't really see a big advantage there.
Okay, we'll go to the middle on the aisle.
Kirby, you've obviously been here as an assistant coach before. Now that you're on the stage, those college football players behind you, you're with 3 other head coaches here. Does it feel much different as a head coach, just in terms of the magnitude of where you're going into? And also in the times you've been on campus or just around Athens or Atlanta, have you sort of felt the hunger and in terms of what Georgia football hasn't been until now, basically?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it feels any different. I think that the pressure that I put on myself as a defensive coordinator and trying to win championships, win with Alabama, is very similar to the same. I want to be as prepared as we can. I want to prepare our staff and our organization the right way. So that doesn't change when you go to this seat. Certainly the responsibilities change and the focus changes. It's not on how we're going to play defensively or what are we going to call. It's a lot more on practice organization and recruiting and other things. But to be honest with you, around campus in Athens, I hadn't been there much. I've been out in the plane, in the schools, using this time as recruiting, and it's kind of what we've all been doing. And it's an important time because of the early signing period.
All right, we're going to go to the very far right.
Coach Smart, Coach Livingston, a question here. Jonathan Simmons from Real Talk Sports here in the Atlanta area. Both of you guys are young guys, new head coaches, but how does the fact that both of you have had experience on teams that have been to this college football playoffs?
I think it helps. I definitely think it helps. Learned a lot, I think, that first year going through it, going against Coach Swinney and those guys at the Orange Bowl a few years ago. Again, and how you prepare the team for a game with this kind of magnitude. And then also it certainly helps me, having been there with the guy, Bob Stoops, that was in, a lot of games like this for many, many years, and certainly a lot of things that I picked up from him and will continue to lean on him for. And so, yeah, I've got a kind of a great background there that I'll certainly draw on as we charge forward here.
Yeah, it's a big benefit having been through it because you know the scheduling aspects, you know the travel aspects, you know the dynamic talking to the team of, it's not your typical bowl game. We're not going to ride rides and do that kind of thing. That's not the purpose of this trip. And I don't think you get that perspective if you haven't been through it.
All right, our next question, we're going to go to the far right on the aisle.
Yeah. For all four coaches, you mentioned this long break. I guess a way to eliminate that would be to expand the playoff to 8 teams. I'd like each coach's opinion on, and it seems like that might be a way to eliminate some of the controversies we have to get every conference champion in and perhaps some wild card teams.
Coach Swinney, we'll start with you and work our way back.
Oh, man. I like the system that we have, to be honest with you. I think that we've been in a playoff mode every week, literally, for about 5 weeks now. Every week has been a playoff mentality for us. You lose, you're probably out. So it's been all you got every single week. Every game's the biggest game of the year. I think the season is long. It's very long. Yes, we could shorten this time, but there is recruiting. We have got early signing date now. There's finals. Our guys, they actually go to class, and they got tests all next week. So it's going to be a really dancing act next week to try to practice and recruit and finals. There's a big challenge there. So there's just, I think you'd probably have to do away with the championship games or something like that. I'm not opposed to it. I like what we got. I think we pretty much have gotten it right. I think it gives opportunity to a lot of teams to be able to go and play in a bowl game and end their season with a win. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Being able to go and take your team and prepare them and get better and finish your season with a win. Most of these other sports, there's only one team that finishes with a win. And I think that's unique to our sport. But I do understand the other side of it as well, and I think that, they'd have to probably look at some type of, a bye concept or something for a couple teams. Obviously shorten the time, maybe do away with the championship games. I don't really know what the exact formula is. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I kind of like what we have.
Well, I think somebody besides us who is in a better position to make a decision of what do you want to accomplish in college football. I think a few years ago, going to a bowl game was a unique thing in college football because it rewarded a lot of players who participated, had good seasons, had an opportunity to go to a bowl game. Their fans could enjoy a bowl game. And then, we sort of started the 2-team deal, and now it's a 4-team deal. And now all the focus and emphasis is on the playoffs. And teams that go to bowl games, the bowl games really don't coexist very well with the playoffs relative to importance, how much attention they get, but yet they are important to positive self-gratification for a lot of players, a lot of coaches, a lot of fans who have a good season. It's a very positive reinforcer. So expanding the playoffs, I would minimize that to a larger degree. In terms of the importance of bowl games and the importance of players playing in bowl games. Last year you saw for the first time two good players from 2 good programs chose not to play in their bowl game because of their future. So I think there's some issues that go along with the current system. And, if we go to 8 teams, I'm sure it won't be long after that you all want to be talking about 16. And I don't care if we have 68 teams in it, we'll still have a 2-hour show on who shouldn't have gotten in it, just like they do in basketball.
Yeah.
So,
and that's to me, that's what we we have in all these other sports. We got the NBA, we got the NFL. I think that's one of the things that makes college football so unique. We've got 130 teams or whatever in Division I, and it's a very unique setup in sport, and there's a lot of issues, and now all of a sudden if you're in the playoffs, certain games become very irrelevant. Now all of a sudden you don't play certain players because you're in. You don't want to get a guy hurt, so now it's just there's a lot of unintended consequences that creep in, just like you see in all the other sports. I mean, I love the NBA, but I don't ever watch it till the playoffs. Just doesn't matter. But in our sport, it still matters. I mean, it matters. It matters what you do in September. It matters what you do in October. It matters what you do in November. But you know what? It's nothing wrong with going 9-3, 8-4. Maybe that's just the best you were that year, and now you got a chance to go play a really good bowl game somewhere and grow your team and get better and develop some guys for the spring. And that's kind of what I grew up in. So I'm kind of traditional in that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's never going to be a magic number. If we had 8, 9, and 10 are going to be upset. If we have 16, 17, and 18 are going to be upset. I know this, before we want to just keep changing things, we got a hell of a product here. I mean, we coach the greatest sport that there is on earth, and the attention around this game is unlike, to me, any game, any sport that there is across the world. So I think we got a great product. I think the Final Four has been great. I think the biggest thing to me is people need to have realistic expectations. You're not going to go to the playoff every single year. Only 4 teams can do it. And like Coach Swinney just said, you can still have a great team without going to the playoffs. So I think people's expectations need to be realistic, and I think we need to appreciate all that we have that's good and not worry about maybe the few parts that maybe this person or that person don't agree with or don't think is right.
Yeah, I think, speaking as a former student athlete, some of my greatest memories, like Dabo talked about, were those bowl games that mattered to a 10-win season or whatever it was, and you do devalue that as you increase the number of teams in the playoff, and you devalue the end of the season. You think about the last probably 3 weeks of the season, last 2 weeks of the season, the amount of attention and the amount of big games, and probably got it more right this year than ever with a lot of the championship games as de facto play-in games. And I think that's the right way to go about it.
We'll go back to the middle on the left aisle.
Nick, this is the 3rd straight year you've lost a coordinator, but beyond that, some of them have taken assistant coaches, they take staffers, they take behind-the-scene guys. Is there a cumulative effect on the organization when that happens?
Well, I think immediately there is some effect and impact when you have change, but it also creates an opportunity to bring in new enthusiasm, new ideas, new people. You just have to keep constantly trying to make sure that the people that you're hiring are quality people who are going to add something to a positive way in the organization. I think it's just like players. You don't really replace players. You just find somebody else who really is capable of doing a good job at that particular position, even though they're not like the last guy, but they do a good job and they contribute to the organization. And I always look at it as an opportunity. I think it's wonderful, and I try to help and promote our coaches so that they have an opportunity to go and become head coaches. And I think that's what they work hard for. That's what they do a good job. That's why they contribute. No different than a player who works hard to try to play in the NFL someday. So we like to see guys get promoted. It's an opportunity to find the next good guy to come along, and hopefully he'll improve the organization in a different way.
We've got time for a few more questions. We're going to go into the middle, second row.
Kirby, you're a relatively young head coach. What's it like to be the senior statesman, so to speak, in this Rose Bowl with the guy next to you? And can you imagine being in this game at his age?
No, I couldn't imagine that. I followed his career. He's done a tremendous job. A lot of the time that I was a defensive coordinator, and when you have opportunities to get a head coaching job, everybody's $1 million question is who's your offensive coordinator. And he was a guy that was on the radar for a long time, and then he got his own, and he's done a tremendous job. Got a lot of respect for what he does. I thought it was pretty cool this morning when I walked in a local high school, and first guy I saw was him, and he was going solo, and I was going solo, and we got to sit there and talk talk and enjoy it, and got a lot of respect for him and what he does and how fast he's been able to do it.
We're going to go to the middle back row.
Coach Riley, to sort of follow up on that, as the youngest head coach at the top level of college football, how have you used your age to an advantage to reach these college football playoffs in just your first year?
I haven't. I get asked about it all the time, and that's the only time I ever think about it. I think you can either relate to players or you can't. You can either lead people or you can't. Some of the, people always want to say, well, he's young, so he can relate to players or closer to his age. Some of the best coaches I've ever seen that relate to players are 55, 60 years old because they're gifted at it. So I don't think our team, our staff thinks a whole lot about it. I certainly don't. I said it when this happened and I got this job. If we do well, it's not going to be because I was young, and if we don't do well, it's not going to be because I was young. We either get it done or we don't.
Okay, we're going to go to the far left in the middle.
Thank you. For all 4 coaches, obviously physically gifted, talented teams, but was there a game or a week when you thought emotionally, mentally, your group of guys could actually get to this point, these teams would actually be capable of doing what it is they've done to get to these 2 games?
Coach Smart, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, I don't know if there was one moment that stuck out. I certainly thought that we had great leadership and a lot of really good high-character kids when we went on the road to Notre Dame with a true freshman quarterback, and they rose to the occasion. There were a lot of opportunities in that game for us. Bad things happened, and they just kept responding and kept giving him an opportunity with some mistakes he made in that game. And I thought from that point forward that, look, we've got a good football team. If he continues to grow as a quarterback and we get better defensively and keep improving on special teams, that we'll have a shot to win the games we play. And ultimately, you try to get to Atlanta in our conference so that you have an opportunity to get up here on the stage. And we were very fortunate to do that, and that was kind of the moment.
Yeah, part of me wants to say, going and beating Ohio State in Columbus, week 2, that was a big game there in a great venue against a really, really good football team. But I didn't know until about 2 minutes left in the TCU game when we were up whatever we were and running the clock out. I mean, it's like Coach Swinney said, you get to a point where it's, every single game and you lose one, you're probably out. You know it. Your kids know it. It's all that's talked about, ESPN, everywhere else. And so I felt like at that point we had a chance, but there was certainly a lot of work to be done and a lot of work that it took to get to this point.
Well, our team was a little bit different this year in that I thought early on we really played well, and as the season went on, we continued to accumulate a lot of adversity, mostly through injuries and physical problems that we had that really affected, our team's ability to grow. And I really liked the way the players sort of persevered and overcame the adversity and kept playing, and it created a lot of opportunity for a lot of other young players to go out there and play. So I think the togetherness that our team showed throughout the year to have the consistency in performance that we wanted to try to get, and the adversity that they overcame showed the true competitive character of what could lead into a team that could have a chance to compete for a championship. So, but I was a little disappointed in the way we finished the season. Great lesson to be learned in all that. When you have a chance to control your own destiny and you don't, you put your fate in the hands of somebody else. And we feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to be in the Sugar Bowl to play Clemson.
For us, I felt like in camp, obviously we lost a lot of guys offensively, especially, and I felt like in camp we had a chance, but I just hadn't seen our quarterback, really play in any meaningful, stressful game situation. So how's he going to respond? And you try to create all that stuff in practice as best you can, but the Auburn game, knowing that we're playing a really good team and a great defense, especially, and watching how he handled the moment, and then going the very next week on the road to Louisville, game day, all that stuff, and same thing, watching our quarterback, and I just, I really felt like we had other pieces to have a chance to win, week in and week out. And once really those 2 games, I felt like, this kid has got a chance to really lead us. And I think he needed that early success to kind of establish himself as the leader, because the guys all respected him. But, in that position, you got to play well. And he played 2 great games, and I think that was the confidence early that this team needed. And then we just kept kind of grown throughout the year and gotten a little bit better along the way.
All right, our final question comes from the far right, the back row.
Hello, my question is for Kirby. I'm Kaylin from Spelman College, and as a Georgia native, I've watched the Dogs Football Club change constantly each season, and these past 3 years, especially now that they are on a high pedestal. What do you think it will take to keep up this momentum?
Well, there's a lot of hard work. A lot of people in the organization buying into the things that we want to do. I think anytime you try to build something special, you do it from the ground up, and we try to do it with a really good foundation of people in our organization that really want to help. And I think this state, and I think all these guys will tell you, they come over here to recruit because there's really good football players here. And this state is a great place to be home to because of the high school football programs that are here and the tremendous jobs. And there's about to be state championship games played over there for the next 2 days with some of the best players in the country that will be playing at all these programs. So I think doing a good job of evaluating those and getting the right young men that want to come to Georgia and get an education and also be good football players will be a big part of us staying successful.
All right, we'd like to thank all the coaches for their time this evening and wish you the best in the playoff semifinals. We're going to make some adjustments up here and have you all take a photo with the trophy real quick, and we'll be done this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.